Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, well, about a week or so ago, I did an episode on the comic adaptations of the Edgar Rice Burroughs novel Tarzan of the Apes, and nearly all of the Burroughs novels have been adapted to comic format at least once. I think, yeah, and at least once, some of them several times. Like, of course, had all those times with all those different versions of Tarzan of the Apes. There have been at least, I think, 3 versions of The Return of Tarzan, one from, abbreviated one from Gold Key. Probably the definitive version was, of course, the DC's, with Joe Kubert. Doing The Return of Tarzan, and then more recently from Dynamite has done one that is more loosely based on the novel, and some of the others have only been once, sometimes twice. But then after Tarzan of the Apes, probably the most frequently adapted, at least in part, is the Jungle Tales of Tarzan. And, of course, Jungle Tales of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So, unlike his other adventure novels, this was a novel comprised of 12 loosely connected short stories about Tarzan during his pre-Jane youth, and it was the 6th book of 24 by Edgar Rice Burroughs, featuring Tarzan of the Apes, and chronologically it takes place during about chapter 11 of Tarzan of the Apes. And the stories ran as a monthly feature in the Blue Book magazine in 1916 and 17 before being compiled into book form. And I have heard that some critics or commenters believe it is Burroughs' attempt at doing the Jungle Book, like Kipling did with his Jungle Book stories and Mowgli stories, and then they're all combined together. It makes one overall story, but there is a series of short stories, and that could be true. I don't know. See, in the comic adaptations, where I guess the earliest one was actually done by Charlton Comics. They adapted 8 stories in 1964 and 65. Gold Key adapted. See, that's what the thing is. They don't ever don't usually adapt the whole book. It's just because it is individual short stories. They just normally adapt individual stories. Gold Key adapted 4 stories in Tarzan numbers 169 and 170 with art by Alberto Giolitti. And DC Comics adapted 3 stories in Tarzan 212, 213, and 214 in 1972. Froggy back. Bern Hogarth did 7 stories as a graphic novel in I think 70. I just looked at it and I forgot what it said. 1976, I think. Marvel did 7 stories in. It says it, my source said 7 and 9, and through 12 through 14 in 77 and 78. And Malibu did 1 story in 92. I've got several of the Malibu issues, but I believe I've got that one because I didn't see it. And then this last one I've never heard of before. Dark Horse, they adapted all 12 stories in 2015 and printed it as a graphic novel. And I hadn't heard or seen anything of that, but I might have to look for that. So I'll show you what I've got here. Here is starting off. I forgot to dig out a paperback copy of the paperback, but this is close enough because I was going to show it anyway. Here, this is from Gold Key. It's a Story Digest magazine. I think I've showed this once before, and it's not comic form. What it is Gaylord Dubois did an abridgment of all the stories, simplifying it, and then they printed it in digest size format, the abridged stories, and profusely illustrated by Dan Speigel. So you can see his artwork there. And of course, this great cover painting by George Wilson. He did some great stuff. So then here we have this. I don't have any of the original Charlton books. Now, Charlton and I guess another publisher thought that Tarzan was in the public domain, and they started their own. Started publishing Tarzan under their banner, and it ran for 4 issues. In fact, come on, I can find everything but the cover painting, the cover illustration. There we go. This is from the Charlton book comic series, and you can see the title of that was Jungle Tales of Tarzan, and that's all that they adapted. And the first 3 issues were all interiors were all done by Sam Glanzman, and I think he did a very respectable job. Sam Glanzman, of course, he's best known for doing war books for both Charlton and DC Comics. And then the last issue was done by Bill Montez and Ernie Bach. And but there was also a book publisher who thought the same thing, and they started producing a new series of original Tarzan novels. And Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated came down on both of these companies, and they had to cease publication fairly quickly. Yeah. Then we go to the Gold Key. Of course, here we have Gold Key again. Some great George Wilson cover paintings, but this one says Top Comics, and it's I don't know who Top Comics is, and there's no information in here. But it was a complete reprint of Gold Key, and it's from apparently the same time period. And of course, with the interior art by Alberto Giolitti, who is better known for doing all doing television stuff. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Star Trek, and the like. And some nice work and some respectable adaptations in those. And of course, I love the artwork of those. Then here we have the Joe Kubert adaptations of some stories for DC Comics, and that feature like the Captive. Oh, this is dealing with, of course, regular Joe Kubert stuff. And of course, his is actually the definitive Tarzan. And have Balu of the Great Apes. This is a good one. This is Tarzan's friend Tika and Tog had a baby, and he saves the baby from Sheeta the leopard, or the panther in this case. Oh, this is great work. And then I also have this one. Coverless. I've read it so many times that the cover had fallen off, and I no longer have it. Oh, look at that! Look at that! I don't know how much he may have deviated. It's been years since I've read the book, so it may have deviated. And then here we have. I did specifically a review of this one once before. Bern Hogarth. Of course, Bern Hogarth had been for several years had done the comic strip, and he did a graphic novel form of Tarzan of the Apes, except that was in color, and this is black and white, and it's just, you can just see the glorious, beautiful work. And I keep thinking they should reproduce a couple dozen of these pages as a coloring book. And I think it would do fairly well. And then we rounded off with some stuff from Marvel. See, here's King Size Annual, and this features 2 stories of some of which have been done in different forms, so you can compare. Adapted by Roy Thomas and John Buscema, and that's all some really nice work. Then the other 2 that I mentioned I don't have. That is the Dark Horse and the Malibu. This one was, yeah, John Buscema and Rudy Messina did the inks on that. That's why it looks a little different. Some great stuff. And all of these great comic book adaptations of Jungle Tales of Tarzan. So that's all I've got for you this time, and I hope that you like that. So please like, share, and subscribe, and do leave a comment. Have you read any of these versions of Jungle Tales of Tarzan? Have you read the original book of Jungle Tales of Tarzan? How do you think any of these adaptations stack up to one another, or to the original books? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, people, remember, comics are art.